is rejected by. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Taking this into account, Hamas still rejected by United States and Israel and other even regional government as an accepted player. However, this study says that contrary to stereotype of that adopted about Hamas and the ideological categorization of Hamas as a dogmatic movement or as an Islamic unpragmatic movement, this study adopts alternative perception that conceive Hamas as a pragmatic movement, and it is more similar to the IRA, which succeed to reach an agreement with the British government or the United Kingdom. So this study adopts such approach that Hamas is a pragmatic movement that accepted the two-state solution, won the election and formed the government. The prime minister of Hamas, the first prime minister of Hamas, he ordered his counterparts and his ministers to start talking to their counterparts in Israel. So they had no problem to deal with Hamas. And even Hamas is a branch of the Muslim Brotherhood, which even showed a pragmatic stance. In Morocco, the government was an Islamic movement, and it was that government who started the normalization process with Israel. Even within the Israeli government, there are members of the coalition of the Israeli government, an Islamic movement, which is the United القائمة الموحدة, the United List of in Arabic. So there is a possibility, as I said, to engage Hamas in a process, and she declared its readiness to accept the two-state solution. The problem is that Hamas says that we can accept such solution, but we will not recognize the legitimacy of Israel. But this should not be a problem, because it's the same with the other side. Even the Prime Minister of Israel, Bennett, now, he does not recognize the legitimacy of Palestinian state. Even Netanyahu, even other religious parties in Israel, they are not accepting to legitimize or to grant legitimacy to Palestinian states. So it should not be a problem to at least to transform the conflict and to reach a better level of it. The research questions of this study will examine some of the central questions. What role does religion play in Hamas ideology and its practices? How Hamas as an Islamic state, how it is affected by the religious factors, and is she close to one interpretation of religion of Islam, or she is open to even take some of stances that may even put her under criticism of other Islamic movements. Many of Hamas stances or positions was criticized by Al-Qaeda and even other Islamic movements. So there are more than interpretation and more than one side of the issue. The second question, is religion considered a destructive factor, or may it contribute to reconciliation? In my opinion, religion, of course, it has a negative side, and unfortunately, religion usually utilized to inflame the conflicts. However, religion has also an ability to contribute to reconciliation, since these movements, like Hamas, they can have their own fatwa or their justification within Islam itself, because they are more pragmatic to accept even some solutions that may be refused by other dogmatic movements. And our history, whether with Prophet Muhammad or even Salah ad-Din. Salah ad-Din, he made sulh al-Ramla, or the reconciliation of Ramla with the Crusaders, and they were still in Palestine. So this movement can utilize such historical examples and precedences to justify such positions. And what is important is that Hamas can, if other Islamic movements outside of Palestine to be part of such effort. The next question is, what are the chances of reaching a peace agreement with Hamas? Is there a chance to reach a peace agreement? How did Hamas succeed in soothing tension between nationalism and religiously motivated identity politics? You know, in our history, nationalism, it went in conflict with Islamism. Arab pan-nationalism, it was considered by many Islamists as something un-Islamic. However, Hamas succeed to merge both nationalism and Islamism or religion within its identity. That's why Hamas said that our problem is with Israel as an occupier. It's not with the Jew, and our problem and our resistance will not go out of our Palestinian border, of the Palestinian border. Hamas never practice violence outside of Palestine. The next question is, to what extent have been the changes to the political ideology of Hamas and its practices? About the transformation in its ideology. The theoretical framework. This thesis advocates theoretical pluralism, especially because of the complexity of Hamas. One theory or one conceptual theory will not be appropriate to understand Hamas fully. It is a complex movement. It has more than side to address. That's why this thesis advocates the theoretical pluralism. The main theories I will be using the constructivist approach, which is taken to control identity and perception and idea, and how these structural normatives construct our ideas and our actions. The second theory, I will be using the social movement theory, and Hamas is considered as social movement theory, and I will be applying such theory on it. The next one is the moderation theory, which says that engaging extremist movements within the political system will moderate them and will make them transform to more pragmatic and more opportunistic even movements that will contribute to their moderation. The essentialist approach, it's said that it's like white and black. We are in such way that we will never develop or we will never transform. So the essentialist approach says, in this regard, the essentialist says that Hamas is an Islamic movement that will not be able to transform or even to change its ideas and its acts. And of course, I will be criticizing such approach. The categorical approach, which says that Islamic movements, it puts Islamic movements in the same category. The Al-Qaeda, Muslim Brotherhood, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, even Tahrir movements, it put them in the same category, and this is also approach will be criticized. However, I will be using it just to get use of the idea. The literature reviews, the reviewed literature of this thesis will mainly include documents, book, academic journals, articles, newspaper, policy papers, and other online publication. Here I divide the literature reviews into three main categories. The first one is descriptive category or descriptive approach. It's just only describe Hamas, its bodies and its maybe military wings and other institutional bodies. The second one is prescriptive approach, which says that how to deal with Hamas. Many books talk about how to deal with Hamas. So it is a prescriptive approach, a thematic approach which take some themes of Hamas and concentrate on it. It takes, for example, one theme and it concentrates studying it. It doesn't take the movement as a whole. Okay, finally, research methodology. This study adapts qualitative research methods. Because qualitative, we are studying a complex movement. So qualitative research, in my opinion, is the best method to study it, because it has special values for investigating complex and security sensitive issue, such as Hamas, and also it helps in generating information that is very detailed by telling the story from the participant view. I will be using primary data and secondary sources. Of course, I will adapt the tools of interviews, whether informal or formal. Interviews can be done by personal, face-to-face, or by phone or online medium. taking into consideration that we are dealing with very sensitive security issues and movement, I may not be able to interview some of the figures of Hamas, especially the military figures. However, we can, by intermediaries, to send some written questions and wait for their answers. I will be using also participant observation method. And this method is very difficult for the researcher to apply, because he needs to gain confidence and to gain trust from the group he study, and he needs to make efforts to be accepted by this this society. However, being from Gaza and being born in Gaza, and this make it maybe easier for me to adopt such method. Thank you very much, and I hope it is clear. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wael Khan, for the presentation about Hamas and how we can develop transformation from the social extremism into the reconciliation process in the middle of conflict, where it is part of the Ghana approach. It's a Hudderan perspective approach for Professor Leiner, and this is much appreciated actually from my side, I can say, but then I will open the discussions for the professors, Professor Leiner and Professor Schmidt, if you would like to give us some feedback about his work and what do you think, how he has to process and how to work it out. So
I think we should talk first between us, like a kind of assessment, or just questions.
You can ask him questions, or you can also give him assessment if you want about, later on you can give him the answer, not now.
Okay.
Now it's only just like feedback on how it's worked, and then after 2-3 days you can send us an email of the process that he can get accepted, or he needs to work more on the proposal, and then we will contact him and we'll tell him about it. So you can just now give him like more feedback on what he presented.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. I know the project very well. Also, I read your text you gave me in Berlin, after Berlin meeting. I think it's a good topic, and it's a good idea to reframe Hamas and to rethink what Hamas is. My question would be a bit, what do you plan exactly? Do you plan, for example, interviews with Hamas leaders, or people who are expert on working with them? Are you planning to work with declarations and texts written by Hamas? Are you interested in going into the organizational structure and describe it of Hamas and the different groups and different activities in this whole Hamas movement, will you deliver also a kind of historical account how Hamas was founded and how it evolved and what happened during the last years, especially? Because there is already some literature on this, but maybe you could make it from your point of view also, and with newer development also interesting. Would this be part of your work or not? What is your plan exactly?
Can you answer, Mr. Wael? Did you get the question of Professor Leiner?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Sorry, I couldn't get the whole questions or the whole picture of the questions, but I understand that how I will be studying Hamas and what aspects of Hamas. For me, it is a contextual study. So I will be studying Hamas in this context. I will not be studying, for example, Hamas military activity or Hamas positions.
Mr. Wael, are you with us?
Sorry, I'll be moving to my mobile because
This is good. We can hear you very well now. It's better. Yeah, you can speak. So you can answer Professor Lionel's question. It was about your study.
I was talking from I was talking from my laptop or my son's laptop,
It's
actually.
okay. You can continue from your iPhone.
Okay.
And we can hear you very well.
So what I'm saying that I will not be studying every aspect of Hamas since it's very complex. I'm not studying, for example, their social activity or charity work or their military work or their. I will just study Hamas within this context, how they can be engaged in the political process as a political movements. Okay.
Okay.
This would be a question. It's, do you want to construct something which is not happening just as a proposition? But this might be more something like a policy paper, but not so much like a PhD thesis, because in PhD it's important, of course, to describe a lot of things which are already happening and which are there. Maybe I did not grasp what you are doing exactly.
In his last slide, he was doing some informal.
I can't hear you proper. Dr. Riyad, can.
Yeah. He's saying,
More about this.
can you explain more about your study, how you are conducting it, and what are the themes that you are going to study? Because Professor Liner is asking, he does not want only a proposition of how to deal with Hamas, but to go more into what Hamas theoretical framework is doing and how can it be established into developing conflict transformation, so towards reconciliation. So you have to study Hamas and study their ideology, theories, and what they are working on, in that they become like a huge party and political party, and what kind of theory can be adapted to them, and why, when, how, and what. These are kind of what Professor Liner was asking. Are you going into these topics, or just studying, like developing a policy for Hamas? So
Yeah,
with Hamas.
Yeah, of course, I will be studying Hamas, but I will not studying every aspect of Hamas, since this will not be possible, because it's a very complex movement. And for example, if I want to talk about their charity, I will mention it, but I will not go into detail of their charity work or their military actions or their operations or their. I'm not going into this, but of course I will be talking and studying Hamas and its transformation. It's since its inception, since its emergence, and how it was emerged as a movement, or as a shot from Muslim Brotherhood, and how it developed into a political movement that run into the election and won the last election, the last legislative election. So I'll be talking about the transforming of Hamas and its ideas, especially towards peace process and towards Israel. As I said, for example, the question of recognition of Israel. What position? What was the position of Hamas and how it was developed in this regard? Of course, I will be talking about Hamas position towards or attitudes toward even internal actors, and how she dealt with some occasions, especially the Palestinian division.
Maybe just tell us which the period of time you're especially focusing on, before the election or since the elections, or which time is your main time you work on?
Dr. Riyad, I don't know, maybe the mic is far away from the
Can you tell us, are you studying periods of Hamas development before the election, after the election, and after the war? Which periods are you studying, or are you studying Hamas as like a conceptual theoretical framework? So maybe is that, Professor, what you want to know?
I'm studying Hamas in contextual framework. It's transformation, but of course I will be mentioning about the stages it went through, its inception, its emergence, till I reached its participation in the election, because Hamas have not participated in the first election, and it has a position that rejected being part of the election, the first one. Then they went and participated in the next one. So they transform and they change their positions, and this shows the pragmatic and opportunistic even nature of Hamas as any other political movement. So Hamas is, for me, is a political player that use such tools and strategies used by any other political movement. It has, of course, ideological background. However, it use political strategies like any other political player.
Okay. Professor Schmidt, do you have any questions for us?
Yeah, I think it's much more social science and politics than comparative religions. So I see that the religious moment is mentioned, yes, sometimes, but it's more, for example, I don't know who is the next professor, for example, for Islamwissenschaft here, the science of Islam. I think that's more in that direction than in the question how special religious questions are answered by fatwas and so on. He has mentioned fatwas, and how much that we can see Hamas as a special religious community by its own from the perspective of religion. So I think it's more from a social perspective, how it's complex and how it's changing. So that is more this direction, I think.
Yeah, but I am also talking about its ideological background and how this ideological background frame its political stances and political attitudes, and how she can use and she can manipulate even ideological. I mean, the ideology of religion in gaining some in making some political gains or some political.
No, Professor Schmitz is asking from the perspective of comparative religion. He sees it that it's more going into Islamic religion than comparative religion. So if you how can you know, Israel is a Jewish more majority people, so maybe this can be part of a comparative, if you want to do a comparative religion as a second study with it, because you are doing peace between Hamas or reconciliation with who? Also, this is another question. If you're reconciliation between the Palestinians or reconciliation between Palestinians and Israelis, or Jews and Muslims within the conflict of the Israeli-Palestinian, this would be more, it will transform it more into a different topic. So this is what I think Professor Schmidt is
Yes,
saying.
I think you can understand Palestinian as a social group as well as a special kind of religious group.
Yeah.
So it is a question from which perspective you are looking. And if you say the main topic is that they are Muslims and the others are Jews, and which kind of Muslims do they are, and how define they themselves as this special Muslim group, which has this special Muslim problems with Jewish people by that situation. But it seems that it's more the question which kind of social group is it, and they understand themselves as aid organization or getting together and having identity because they are living all in Palestine, and so so it is one point, of course, one facet of your looking is also religion, but it seems not to be the main point. So it's the same with Jewish people in Israel. You can say that it's a social group, or you can say that it's a religious group which is looking on the Torah or something like this.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. So did you understand what Professor Schmidt was saying? It's like you have what kind of type of research you're doing on the type of community? Is it community or religion? So if or the religion of that community of people, and are you comparing it with the other religion that you are in conflict with or not? So that's where it differs. So if you are only studying more the social group, then it is a social studies on an Islamic group and their perception of how they can develop reconciliation and transformation on them. This is what we understood from your research, actually. So it's more social, right? I think so.
I think so, yes. And I think it's very interesting that he tried, so far as I got it, and something like a holistic understanding of the general understanding of what Hamas is from different perspectives. That I think is very interesting, and also to show that it's not fixed, but it's a dynamic process. That I think is very interesting also to see in which kind, if it's a dynamic process, a dynamic group, in which way it can go far away from Jewish positions in Israel, as well as can go to connect with them to cooperate. So both possibilities are there, and there are maybe there are different powers. Some people want to go this direction, one people want to go the other direction, and to see how it's transforming in the new shape. Maybe something like this he is interested in, and so my question would be: is it more to describe? That is one thing. That could be very full of niveau, but so it could be enough. But the question is to describe or to see or to tell in kind of reconciliation. The question of reconciliation: in which way should it go? So it is a descriptive or normative word, or has this normative part, or describing. So both could be important, but the question is where there's a stress on.
I understand. Did you understand, Dr. Mr. Wael?
Yes. Yeah, I think the study. I mean, I'm tackling this issue and saying that religion plays a role. I'm not talking mainly in the religion, but how religion is used and how can be used to reach reconciliation. I'm saying that religion has two-sided. You can use them. You can use it to inflame conflict, or to at least to make peace or to transform the conflicts. For me, in the Islamic religion, we can find many historic examples that can be used to support such approach. And Hamas itself, she justifies many of their political stances and attitudes using religion as a tool of justification for just such stances. That's why I'm talking about religion and its role in and how it is played. And at the same time, I will be comparing.
The question is: do you use religion, or you are living in religion? It is a very important difference. So it is a social factor if you say you use religion for something, or political factor, or is the main factor you are religious and then you are using politics?
No. I'm saying that Hamas and these movements, they use religion to justify their stances and their positions.
But they live as well. No, there's two things. They use religion and they live it. So, let's example, if they say tomorrow we stop eating this kind of meat because it's coming from Israel and it's forbidden meat. So all of the people in Gaza will stop eating that canned meat, and it will be stated as a religious thing, and it will be ruled by religion, and then they'll say go to hell if you eat this meat.
This is very interesting.
At the same time, the question of Hudna, Professor, a question of Hudna, it's a religious concept that was used even in previous occasions in history. So Hudna, and this was even presented by Hamas, that we can reach Hudna with Israel and have some calm and accept the two-state solution. So religion is there, and it is used by them in a pragmatic way to justify their stances. Whether this stance is extremist, they justify their military actions using religion, and at the same time they have the ability to justify their even moderate or some positions that they can accept also by using religion. It's the same when Muslim Brotherhood government in Morocco, for example, justify their to enter into normalization for the interest of the people, that this is the interest of the people, and religion can accept such stance. It's the same justification presented by member of the coalition of the Israeli government right now, the current government, when he went into coalition with other religious movement, a Jewish movement, justifying this stance because he is working for the interest of his people. So religion can be used at both sides.
So I have can you compare the acceptance of reconciliation in religion? Can you make it a religion to develop reconciliation in the community? Maybe that, and to compare it with other religions that are in conflict. So this is like a very good, how can two religions develop reconciliation within themselves and with each other while they are in the middle of conflict? So you have, this I think is very important into your study if you can do such a thing, because then you can understand the comparative of religion in reconciliation process, which is, I think it's a very important thing to do, even, and then to relate to Hamas into it, because Hamas is not just not reconciling with Israel, or they're not reconciling with any Palestinian political party as well. So I think it's very important to study the comparative of religion and its works into reconciliation process. So I think if you concentrate by this main topic, I think it will be a very strong topic to understand. So you can understand not just Jews and Muslims, any type of religions that are in conflict, how can they develop reconciliation within their two conflicts, that the religions support the conflict as well. So you have the Jews support the conflict and Muslims support the conflict from the perspective of Israelis and Palestinians. And then you have other also some Christians that supports the conflict, like the evangelicals and other people who stand, or other newborn Christians who stand by Israel and the rights to be there. So I think if you take your study more into the comparative religion process for reconciliation process, I think this will be a very good to understand Hamas and its way of developing the religion, and then how it can appeal into reconciliation process with other religions, other faith, other interpretations, other that they are in conflict with. You understand what I am saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That we have two religions. It's a conflict between two ideas, two religions. Especially with the rise of Islamic and Jewish political movement. In Israel, the political religious movement are very influential in Israel. I'm saying that to reach a peace, we should include both sides, these movements. However, this peace will not be fully, because both sides will not recognize the legitimacy of the other. Hamas will never, I can assure you, they will never legitimize Israel, and even not only Hamas, but also Israel. And at the same time, Israeli religious movement, they will never legitimize Palestinian state, and that's what Bennett, in his interview with CNN years ago, the Israeli Prime Minister, he said to the presenter of the program, when he asked him, "Are you ready to accept two-state solution?" He told him, by word, he told him, "Listen, I will never accept two-state solution. If you want me to accept two-state solution, you should go and change the Torah and the Bible." This is his belief. So we are talking about two sides of stories, two narratives. You will never bring them to the same point. However, adopting Jena approach, that we can transform conflicts. We don't need to solve it right now. Transforming conflict will open the road to maybe accumulate more success on this, and maybe will give the next generation a window to build on it. Right now, it is impossible to reach a solution that bring both sides together and everybody will be happy. It's like they will not marry each other. It's like how can I say? It's a marriage of convenience. It is just they will not love each other. Okay. That's what I believe, that both sides, and this is Bennett's ideas, and even Netanyahu, they are not recognizing the right of Palestinian state. And what I'm saying that both religions, they have their narratives, and I can accept their narratives. However, we can work in the possible. What can we do? How can we reach an agreement even with these narratives? And in the Islamic side, there is some ways to reach such solutions.
Okay. Now it's it sounds a little bit more comparative religion now. Yes. But to give you one example, what you have just taught, yes, changing the Quran. Remember the example, when the food comes from Israel, you are not allowed to eat it. Yes. If it would be another example, then look at the Quran. All what Jewish people are eating, you are allowed to eat. That is the 5th of Surah, Al-Ma'idah.
Yeah.
Why you change the Quran?
It's interesting.
Yes, but the question is Al-Hamas, is that changing the Quran?
No, they cannot change the Quran.
Yes, then they can eat it.
Yeah, but they change the interpretation. They change the interpretation. Like Al-Qaeda, ISIS closed, cancelled some surahs from
we don't. I'm not saying that we should read the Quran or even the Torah or the Bible. This is
Some people are closing the eyes.
Yeah. I don't know if
It is,
people can see.
I know it is a complex situation. However, this is what we have. We have two narratives, which they cannot change. Neither we want to change Quran or even Bible or the Torah. Both sides, they can. Hmm?
Yes, we hear you.
No, it's really interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
I'm not making fun. No, it's really interesting.
Yeah.
It is a problem. What is changed and how can they come together?
Yeah.
Yes,
And they
but
change the religion, they change the interpretation.
that's the question. Yes, I do.
We don't need to change because we will never succeed.
He says it's in the Bible that he has to rule this to his land and there's no Palestine. Cancel the Bible, cancel, if you want me to do two-state solution, peace with the Palestinians, you have to cancel the Bible. This is how he thinks. So I think
That's what the Prime Minister of Israel said in the CNN. I can send you the YouTube. So I can understand him. I can understand him. This is his belief. However, we can live with such maybe crazy ideas. We can reach an agreement. We don't need to legitimize each other. We need to live with each other, even if we don't love each other. Maybe next generation will have different level of concepts. However, right now, it is unexpected to reach a full peace, but to transfer the conflict. And this is my understanding of this reconciliation. Reconciliation is a process. We should start at least to deal with each other. When Hamas came to power, Ismail Haniyeh, who was the prime minister of Hamas, he ordered his ministers to contact his counterpart in Israel. So it is a start, but he can accept dealing with Israel without even legitimizing their presence, because legitimizing Israeli presence means criminalizing our history and our resistance. It's the same with Israel. Legitimizing Palestinian state, criminalizing their actions and their attitudes toward Israel in the last in the last century. So it is a complex situation. However, if we at least use conflict transformation approach, this is the start. Just to get on the table and start dealing with practical things, putting ideology aside. Everyone can has his opinion and his religious beliefs, but we can deal with each other, and we can live with each other. This is my beliefs. I can't hear you. سامعين انتوا شباب ولا شو الموضوع؟
I'm muted now. Okay.
Yeah, so I think this reminds me quite a lot of the Cold War situation in Europe. There were different ideologies in Western Europe, in the US, and in the Soviet Union and the East, but they created processes like the Helsinki process or made corporations. There were even loans given from banks from the West to Eastern states, and of other things happening, which created a good precondition for what happened then in '89.
Yeah. Okay.
But we have also others who want to ask. So at least Laura.
Laura, yeah, Laura would like to ask a So your comment, I saw
Yes.
your okay. You're
Yes, so Mrs. Dohan, first of all, thank you so much for your presentation. I made a few notes. So starting off with, you've pointed at the need to think about the reconciliation process and taking the Gen approach. You've spoken about conflict transformation and about that practical application that you think it's time. So to do all of that, taking a step back, I actually took notes on what I thought was very interesting research. And I think maybe if I'm misunderstanding, if it's a misunderstanding on my part, please let me know. But going back to your slide that said, how did Hamas succeed in soothing the tensions between nationalism and religiosity in identity politics? So I understood that in this slide, what you were trying to look at was what type of reconciliation tools, space, processes has Hamas been able to build across being able to soothe the tensions between nationalism and religiosity. So my understanding was that you're trying to see what space, tools, processes were available through that framework, and that taking that, then you would apply that to thinking about conceptually and theoretically at the reconciliation processes, conflict transformation, and the practical application. If it's a misunderstanding on my part, at least that's what I interpreted. If you could just give me some feedback on what I just presented. Thank you.
Yeah, this is what I meant, that Hamas is a pragmatic movement, and it succeeds to merge between nationalism and religion, because in our history, nationalism was rejected by Islamists because it is un-Islamic. It was pan-Islam, not pan-Arab. So it's like it's a history. Even Abdel Nasser in Egypt. So when Hamas succeed, it succeed to Islamize the Palestinian identity and to Islamize it. So it's both sides. And they said that we are national movement, national resistance movement, and we will just practice our resistance within Palestine border. And if you take this, it will contradict Islam, because Islam talk about Ummah and talk about the Islamic nation. But Hamas is dealing with itself as a national movement, as an Islamic national movement. And it's different from Al-Qaeda, for example, which talk about Ummah and talk about nations.
So I also have a thing, like I understood from all your work that you are doing, if you apply your work into what we can say comparative religion in the reconciliation process, the study between Gaza and the West, or Gaza and, so I think that would be a very interesting approach. What do you think, Professor? Because he's talking about the differences of using religion in conflict, and what kind of religion can play a role in the conflict or towards reconciliation process. So we don't want to study conflict. We want to study reconciliation process. Yeah, this I wanted to tell you. And we want to study as well how religion can play a role.
And that's what I'm trying. I'm trying to say that how we can reach reconciliation and how we can transform the conflict. I'm not studying the conflict itself. I'm saying that this is the way to transform the conflict. Each side can start at least dealing with each other. They can, especially when both sides accept the two-state solution, which is accepted by the international law, international community, and everybody. And Hamas accepted such solution without recognition of Israel, without recognizing the legitimacy of Israel. And I said that this is part of their ideology, and they will never change it. And this is part of the Israeli ideology, and they will never change it. Bennett, who is the prime minister, I told you, he said that he said to the presenter that go and change the Bible first, then come and talk about two-state solution. I say my opinion is that if the international community, United States, Europe, they have an opportunity to work in such idea that two-state solution should be the solution for the conflict, even without legitimizing the other side, because and just an important point. Hamas is a political movement. It's not the state. It's not the government. Okay, it's not the state. Recognition is among the states.
Okay.
Doctor, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What I study in international law, there is two different kind or two different types of recognition. There is de jure and there is the other kind is de facto. De jure recognition, which is legitimize the other.
Okay, thank you so much. I think we
Let me just explain this point, please. In international law,
yeah, you can explain in 1 minute because we have other
Okay. In international law, there is two different types of recognition. There is de facto recognition and de jure recognition. De facto recognition, it's similar to what I'm saying. The de jure, it's recognizing the legitimacy of the government or the other. What I'm saying that we should not ask Hamas to recognize the legitimacy of Israel, because Israel don't need that, because recognition is between states. I will not ask the movement or the Bennett movement or the Lieberman movement or even Likud movement to recognize the Palestinian state. The recognition is between states, it's not between movements. Everybody can live with his ideas and his concepts.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Wael. My last comment, maybe we will sit with the professors and they can tell us, write us the feedback that they want, and we will contact you within the feedback that we understood. I think the most important in this topic actually is to study the contribution of what you are going to give in your PhD. So one of the contributions that I thought is comparative religion in the reconciliation process in the middle of conflict. And then you can put as a case study is Hamas. So this is how it would be like, if you go that direction, what do you think, Professor? Yeah.
Could be one way,
This is one way that you could apply it, because first you have to study the theory, the methodology of the theoretical framework. You have to develop a theoretical framework. So for example, when you do a comparative religion towards the reconciliation process, what it is and how it works, then you can understand how the Jews and Muslims or communities that have different religions understand how they can reconcile or develop the path of reconciliation process. So this, I think, if you concentrate on this and put it in your proposal and then put as a case study that you're studying Hamas or Gaza, for example, or the Israeli-Palestinian conflict in it as a case study, then you are doing what we call developing contribution to science, and at the same time you are implementing what you are studying into the it becomes a real PhD research, like more strength in your research, I guess. So what do you think, Professor Bleiner?
Yeah.
Okay. Professor Schmidt? Okay, so we will have a 5-minute break. Okay, a 5-minute break to have a coffee and relax, and then we will go to Dr. Raif Hussein, and he's going to talk about the Islamic religion in the reconciliation process, and he will present that. Thank you.
Thank you.
vermittelt. Es gibt Stand der Forschung bei dieser Situation, bei diesem Thema, viele westliche und arabische islamische Wissenschaftler aller Fachrichtungen, Soziologie, Sozialpsychologie, Politikwissenschaften und andere, haben sich diesem Thema gewidmet. Sie haben in der arabischen Welt zahlreiche Bücher und Studien zum Themenkomplex Säkularisierung, Islam, Demokratie, Zivilgesellschaft und Politik veröffentlicht. Bernd Lewis, wie Sie wissen, war der prominente Vertreter der westlichen Wissenschaften, der dieses Thema sich praktisch gewidmet hat, die ein neues Verhältnis zwischen Religion und Staat in der arabischen Welt, in der islamischen Welt insgesamt skeptisch betrachtet und eine nennenswerte Transformation im politischen und ideologischen Denken des politischen Islams völlig oder fast ausgeschlossen hat. Für einige Wissenschaftler lag es eher an der islamischen Religion. Wir kennen jetzt einige, ich kann die nicht alle jetzt nennen, und deren Fundamenten, die eine Weiterentwicklung der Gesellschaft verhindert haben bis dato. Prominente Islamwissenschaftler wie Professor Antes, mein Mentor, mein Doktorvater, und Professor Gudrun Kremer haben in vielen Büchern und Essays diese Argumente, die Argumente von Lewis und anderen, die eben gesagt haben, der politische Islam ist nicht zum Transformieren. Wir können ihn in einem Friedensprozess nicht mit hineinziehen, nicht mit integrieren, haben es widerlegt. Und in ihren Arbeiten kommen sie zu dem Ergebnis, beide kommen in ihren Arbeiten zu dem Ergebnis, dass der Koran keine präzisen Angaben zu einer konkreten Regierungsform vom Staat macht, was meine Arbeit erleichtert. Arabische Wissenschaftler und Gelehrten beschäftigen schon früher sich mit diesem Thema. Im Laufe der 1925 schrieb Professor Abdelrazak von der Azhar-Universität sein berühmtes Buch, der sich mit diesem Thema beschäftigt hat. Das Buch heißt Islam wa Usul al-Hukm, was das so bedeutet, der Islam und die Grundlagen des Regierens, ein revolutionäres Buch. Darin steht er nicht nur hinter der Abschaffung des Kalifats, sondern verurteilt dieses Amt als ein veraltetes politisches System, das nur durch seine militärische Stärke diese lange Zeit bestehen konnte. Viele andere Wissenschaftler wie Dr. Muhammad Shahrur argumentiert in seinem Buch Ad-Din wal-Mujtama', was so viel bedeutet wie Religion und Gesellschaft, sowie andere Schriften, dass der Koran die Verbote, das ist dieses Dilemma, die Achillesferse des politischen Islam und dieses Verhältnis zwischen Religion und Gesellschaft in der arabischen Welt, sagt Dr. Muhammad Shahrur in seinen Schriften, in seinen Büchern, dass der Koran die Verbote genau definiert hat, genau diese 14 Verbote, und den Rest, resümierend seine Aussagen, seine Thesen, und den Rest hat Gott den Menschen überlassen. Was so viel bedeutet wie, Gott hat den Menschen erlaubt, ihren täglichen Angelegenheiten selbst zu regeln und die Alltagsregeln nach ihrem Wissensstand und ihre Bedürfnisse aufzustellen. Die 14 Verbote, die im Koran feststehen, sind bindend für alle und dürfen nicht verändert oder ergänzt werden. Alles andere ist veränderbar, ergänzbar, nach neuen Wissensstand und so weiter. Die Trennung zwischen Religion und Staat wurde vom orientalischen Orientalistenwissenschaftler meistens aus zwei Perspektiven behandelt. Aus diejenigen, die die Säkularisierung als Allheilmittel betrachtet haben, und aus der anderen Perspektive die Trennung zwischen Religion und Politik als Irrweg ansieht. Einen ernsthaften Ansatz, der die Konfrontation zwischen beiden Lagern in der arabischen islamischen Welt beruhigt und auf eine neue Ära des Friedens und Aufschwungs vorbereitet haben, ist bis dato, nach meinem Wissen, bis dato weder bei den westlichen noch bei den orientalischen Wissenschaftlern geschah. Was sind die Ziele und die Thesen meiner und die Kernaussagen? Die Säkularisierungstheorie, Sie müssen mich entschuldigen kurz, weil mein Akku macht Ärger. Ziele und Thesen beziehungsweise die Kernaussagen meiner Arbeit. Die Säkularisierungstheorie, die These von Bedeutungsrückgang und vom Abschwächen des Einflusses der Religion in modernen Gesellschaften vertritt, wird in modernen arabischen Gesellschaften auf den Kopf gestellt. Und nicht nur arabischen, wie Sie wissen, einige unserer Kollegen haben vieles darüber geschrieben und geforscht, wie ist eigentlich diese Theorie, die Säkularisierungstheorie, die ist inzwischen etwas umstritten. Dort im Nahen Osten, wo die Moderne Fuß gefasst hat, die Moderne im Alltagsleben Fuß gefasst hat und auf dem Vormarsch ist, wo sich viele Bereiche der Gesellschaft nach ihr ausrichten, nach der Moderne ausrichten, beobachten wir kein Absterben der Religion, sondern eher ein Aufflammen der Religiosität und deren Institutionen, der politische Islam und viele andere Institutionen aber. Zum Teil sind die Führer dieser neuen Bewegung, religiöse Bewegung und politischer Islam sind Menschen, die im westlichen modernen Staaten studiert und gelebt haben. Die Ideen der 70er und 80er Jahre des vergangenen Jahrhunderts, zu dem Verhältnis zwischen Religion und Staat, das durch den zunehmenden Einfluss der sozialistischen, kommunistischen Gedankengutes dominiert wurden und wonach die arabische Linke insgesamt auf eine harte und klare Trennung zwischen Staat und Religion plädiert hat, wurden inzwischen abgeschwächt. Zum einen kehrten viele Anhänger dieser kommunistischen und linken Parteien den sozialistischen und kommunistischen Bewegungen und Parteien, die sich ja auch in dieser Zeit, in diesen 50 Jahren nicht modernisiert haben in der arabischen Welt, haben sich diese Bewegungen den Rücken gekehrt. Zum anderen, weil die religiösen Bewegungen insgesamt die Moderne für sich nutzen, um effektiver für sich und für ihre Ideale und Gedankengut zu werben und Anhänger zu gewinnen. Immer mehr Menschen in der arabischen Welt, das stellen wir immer wieder fest, wenn wir dort sind, wenn wir an Kongressen oder dort die arabische Welt besuchen, immer mehr Menschen in der arabischen Welt sehen sich nach einem neuen Verhältnis zwischen Staat und Religion, weit weg von den drei oben genannten, die ich dann oben genannt habe, Modellen, die wir jetzt in der arabischen Welt holzschnittartig ich vorher dargestellt habe, die Realität der arabischen Gesellschaften in den letzten Hektode, würde ich sogar sagen, bestimmen. Dies belegen einige islamische Forscher und Autoren wie Muhammad Shahrur, Burhan Ghalioun, Abdel Ali Balqis und Said Qumni und viele, viele andere mehr, die vieles darüber geschrieben haben in Essays und in Büchern. Es gibt einen dritten Weg, einen Weg, der das kulturelle Erbe respektiert, die Tradition modernisiert und dabei die Perspektive für moderne Zivilgesellschaften eröffnet. Die arabische Welt hat also nicht nur die Wahl zwischen Lazaismus oder Theokratie, sondern hat eine andere Wahl. Warum sage ich die Tradition modernisieren? Es gibt viele in der arabischen Welt, die das als Aufwand nehmen, von beiden Seiten, von dem konservativen und von dem etwas modern denkenden Menschen, die denken, der Rückstand der arabischen Gesellschaften beruht darauf, dass diese arabischen Gesellschaften insgesamt auf ihre Traditionen beharren. Ich nehme die Worte oder die Aussage von Konfuzius und sage, wenn die Tradition eigentlich ein Hindernis für die Teilhabe an der Moderne, dann hätten einige Gesellschaften, insbesondere in Ostasien, nie Teil der Moderne sein können. Diese Gesellschaften, sei es Japan, sei es Südkorea oder China oder andere, sind eigentlich Gesellschaften, die mit Händen und Füßen an ihrer Tradition halten. Also diese Aussage kann nicht richtig sein. Richtig ist aber, dass diese asiatischen Gesellschaften ihre Tradition mit dem Weiterentwicklung des Wissens und der Gesellschaft weiterentwickelt haben. Die arabischen Gesellschaften beharren auf das Ruhen, auf das Stoppen der Entwicklung der Tradition. Deswegen sage ich diese Sache. Dieser Weg, der dritte Weg, den ich dann erforschen will, dafür einen neuen Gesellschaftsvertrag schreiben will, dieser Weg kann gelingen, wenn dabei betrachtet wird, und das ist die Idee dabei, das ist ein Akkumulationsprozess. Also wer denkt, AARMENA, Raif Hussein oder wer auch immer wird jetzt irgend so einen Zauberweg finden, der irrt sich. Den Weg, den ich beschreibe, ist ein Akkumulationsprozess. Es ist absolut kein Ad-hoc-Maßnahme. Ein Prozess, der auf seiner Realisierungsweg, Implementierung viele Rückschläge ertragen wird und im Laufe seiner Implementierung einige Justierungen erfahren muss. Der Gesellschaftsfrieden und seinen, wenn man so will, der Gesellschaftsfrieden und seinen Grad in der Realität sowie die Akzeptanz der neuen Ansätze im Verhältnis zwischen Religion und Staat und zwischen deren Institutionen insgesamt werden, nach meinem Vorschlag, werden der Maßstab für den Erfolg oder Misserfolg des neuen Ansatzes sein. Also das heißt, wir begeben uns auf einem Weg, der zwar die einzelnen Schritte beschreibt und aber auch Kontrollmechanismen installiert, um zu sehen, ob dieser Schritt erfolgreich ist oder weniger erfolgreich sein wird oder ist. Und wir arbeiten immer mit Justierung des Vorschlages bei der Implementierung des Vorschlages auf der Realität, auf dem Boden in einer Gesellschaft, in einer bestimmten Gesellschaft, wenn der Vorschlag fertig ist. Rutzel, das Nutzen und Relevanz bzw. Originalität, schwieriges Wort. Das Verhältnis zwischen Religion und Politik bzw. Gesellschaft gestaltet sich nicht nur in der arabischen Welt neu, auch in vielen modernen, wie bei uns in Deutschland, das beobachten wir seit Jahren, neuen Ansätze der Zusammenarbeit und Kooperation zwischen Staat und Kirche. Die Kritik an der Säkularisierungstheorie hält, wie ich dann vorhin gesagt habe, hält auch dort an, wo Säkularisierung, wie bei uns hier in Deutschland, bei uns in Europa, selbstverständlich ist. Mit dieser Arbeit will ich eigentlich oder soll durch den neuen Ansatz für die arabische Welt gezeigt werden, dass Gesellschaftsfrieden und Religiosität bzw. Konservatismus im Einklang gebracht werden können. Es soll auch deutlich gemacht werden, dass die islamische Religion, wenn sie im Einklang, wie Muhammad Shahrur das versteht, mit der modernen interpretiert und verstanden wird, einen Beitrag zum regionalen und Weltfrieden beitragen kann. Der neue Ansatz, den ich dann erforschen will und daran arbeite, baut auf Respekt und Zusammenarbeit zwischen allen gesellschaftsrelevanten Gruppierungen, die jetzt besteht oder weiter bestehen werden, und weniger auf Heil, Exklusivismus und Ausschluss. Es geht um eine Gesellschaftstransformation und die Entwicklung der Instrumente für diese Transformation. Das, was ich erreichen will. Der neue Ansatz soll keinen Gewinner und keinen Verlierer hervorbringen. Diese selektive Methode erfuhr, selektiv entweder Gewinner oder Verlierer, erfuhr in der arabischen Welt mehrmals und in verschiedenen Arten und Weisen im letzten Jahrhundert. Der neue Ansatz, wir haben die erfahren, wir haben die gesehen, wir haben die ausprobiert. Der neue Ansatz, den ich dann erforschen will, baut auf einer Win-Win-Strategie. Es kommt so, weil ich dann in meiner Arbeitsleben als strategischer Berater bin, deswegen benutze ich auch diese Vokabular. Der neue Ansatz kann für andere Regionen der Welt, wenn es erfolgreich ist, von Nutzen sein. Insbesondere dort, wo die Kirche eine Renaissance erlebt.
Dankeschön, Dr. Raff, für das interessierende Arbeit auf die Versionung, was Sie sagen, sagt, aber Professor Leiner vielleicht dann sagt, was du denkst.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Raif. I think this is a good idea, a good project. This is new social or
It's not there.
contrasocial social contract.
No, it's not there.
But it's not necessary to speak.
Why is he here?
He was ejected.
Maybe I ejected him? No, he ejected himself.
No, with a connection to
No, I have him here. Are you online?
No, he's not here. He's not here.
I ejected himself.
You only get stopped if you
Yes.
So we're sorry for this interruption. Seems Dr. Raff that he ejected himself out of the conversation. So either we,
hopefully he will come back.
yeah, we can go
And
to.
yeah, I think it's in German, it's an interesting project to renegotiate the social contract for the Arab world, especially in relationship to religion and state, and to find new models together with different groups in the state and to enhance civil society. I think it's a good project. Dr. Raif has already his doctorate, so we must see what would be the sense of our cooperation. And I think he will come to our conference in August, 1st to 5 of August, and then we will see more how we will come to see.
He's not there.
He's not there. Well, talk to him and tell him.
Yeah, but only to say, my question is not, it depends on the faculty. So he can make a doctorate also in another faculty.
Yeah.
So it is possible only once in one faculty, like philosophical or social faculty, but changing the faculty, then it's possible to take another one. So the question is philosophical now or not? That is a question what he has done in Hanover, because it was the second one, I think, but the first one.
Yeah.
So the question is on the first one. And then so some things are interesting to do, talk on him about the different concepts on Islam, and I think it's very interesting also to ask for a concept. He is not followed this thought in later, but what is with the Arabic world if you have many states? So if you have one state, like Osmanic state,
It's okay.
That's okay.
Yeah.
But if you have many states, what can you do to them?
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yes.
That's the problem today. That and each of them interpret the Quran the way they like, and they follow it. Like what happens in Hamas, Jordan, Saudi Arabia. Even Ramadan is not done in the same day.
So the question was very good. If it's nationalism or is it, if they trust in one state or trust in one religion or what, in one language, Arabic, for example, what is connecting? And if you have not a pan-Islamism, then can you arrange yourself in one state, in your own state?
Yeah,
Knowing that the boundaries are there.
he's back.
Yeah. He's back.
Yeah, he's just connecting the audio, I guess. Yeah, now he's on. So yeah, I think he can hear us. Maybe Professor Leiner, you would like to speak?
Yeah, this is very interesting and a good idea you developed. And I think Dr. Raif was saying we should meet. And my question would be, would you come in August 1st to 5th to the AARMENA conference to Jena? And I think that we should make a point and talk to each other.
Did you
Bin
hear?
ich wieder dabei, oder?
Yeah, yeah. I talked to him about it.
Yeah.
He's coming to.
You are coming to Jena to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can. I have only. I'm just want if it's possible. Yeah, I'm not sure if I have time already. I'm sorry about that because it's was a little bit problem with the connecting here in Hannover. I'm not sure what's the problem. It's if I have time, I'm going to tell you about my material, what I want to do, especially.
Yeah.
I think we do it when you come to Jena.
To Jena. Okay, that's okay. That's okay.
The project is good that all the others know about, and then we think also about what we can do together.
Okay, thank you very much.
We must go move forward with the other candidate who will present.
Okay.
Sorry for this.
Yes, I only want to say that I know Professor Antes since more than 20 years, and if your doctorate is in philosophical faculty or is another faculty?
Sorry?
Your doctorate you have written is in philosophical faculty or another faculty?
No, I make it in political science, but he was the first one. It was a little bit difficult. I can't tell you all of the story now in this meeting, but when we meet together, I'll tell you all the story why Professor Antes became the first candidate to be my Dr. Vater and not a political science.
Yes, because Professor Antes was also my first.
Oh, really?
Okay.
So I'll tell him.
Okay.
We are in neighborhood, so.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Dr. Raf, and we would like to see you in the AARMENA conference. You just send me your topic, but in the AARMENA conference symposium, it's in English language. So I want to tell you.
Never mind, I will do it in English. Never mind, best because I will do it in English. I send you my expose in the next days.
Yeah, I have over 12 universities attending, so and they all speak English. So we would like you also to speak English there. And with the professor, you can speak German as you wish.
If you don't understand us.
Only scientific language you can speak. That's it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Raf, and I think it was an excellent preview of what is happening in the Arab world and to redefine the connection between the state and religion in the Arab world and the way of ruling. I think it's very important. So we go to our next candidate. Actually, it's Mr. Abdurrahman Al-Kawari. He's our candidate now for some year, I guess, and now he's ready to present. He's doing digital humanities for peace and reconciliation studies, and digital humanities for peace and reconciliation studies. So his research, I work with Professor Leiner and him with his research, and we would like him to present them because he advanced very well in fixing from his last presentation in front of the professors. 20 minutes. 20 minutes, please, Mr. Kawari.
Yes, hi.
Oh, did I muted him? Wait, you are muted. Yeah, I muted him. Sir Kawari.
So do you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, we hear you.
First of all, thank you for giving me the second opportunity to present, and I will try to give my best. Especially, I have a little bit issue in the breathing because I caught coronavirus here in London, and it's not like I will focus on the subject as I can. Okay. Yes, my main subject is about the conflict between Gulf Cooperation Council states. You know, the conflict is rooted to a long historical period. However, the last rise in conflict between the Gulf Cooperation Council members had took another direction. Actually, we are talking about a field, a digital field over here. Usually reconciliation became after or in conflict that had, let's say, a war or violence. However, this kind of conflict was the field was digital. The weapon was a Twitter account, and the bullet was a text that published in public and caused a social rift between GCC members. I don't want to take too much time to talk about the history of the conflict because I believe that it's so popular, and I want to focus on the main subject that I want to highlight in. Before a few months, Dr. Iyad Dajjani advised me to work on Vivo to scan the literature review. And what I did, that I had three kind of codes: the gaps of methodology, or the gaps of studies, and objective of study, and the result of studies. And what I did, that I separate all the dimensions that came from the data that I collect. So I had media, methodology, reconciliation, and social studies. And after I finished, or until this day, I reached that we have the result is that we have a political agreement, and we can see man in black shake their hands, and we can see emirs like meeting with each others. However, still the social rift exists, and still communities are like generated with negative ideas, and the negative dialogue is already around us. It surrounds us actually in the Middle East. Before Qatar blockade 2017, I was, as myself, I can consider the UAE citizen as my cousins and my brothers. And now these days, if I publish that and share my opinion in public, many will argue with me that they are our enemy, and there where we need reconciliation actually. Before a few months, when I presented the first time to Dr. Iyad and Professor Martin, okay, they agree with me with the subject, but the more important, how we can improve that, and how we can do a reconciliation practice at the mid of conflict, and by which mechanism. And here what I did for the last few months from Ramadan, I still believe that Fornice's approach and case study methodology and hurdle perspective is the main infrastructure for my study. But what I did, that I developed a structure. The structure is about 6 stages. When I collect a hashtag, the first thing of a hashtag when I collect it, or let me tell you what I'm gonna do. Before a few months, I started to work with a IT engineer to develop a program. This program is, as you can see in the picture, or as the screen show, that program can scan the internet for an hashtag, whichever hashtag I print over here, and type search. From the date I select to the end of the date that I already will select. And what they will give me, something like this. They will give me something, a data like that, an ID address for the accounts, the name of the accounts, the location of the accounts, and the tweets. And they're the bullets, the bullet that I was talking about. They're the dialogue that we had suffered. This is the dialogue who created the social raft in GCC states. And what I'm gonna do is those 6 stages for every hashtag. I will try to separate the location firstly, so I can know who and from where he was talking about what. And here, the 3rd stage will be a positive or a negative dialogue. So the positive dialogue will, let's say, it will support the reconciliation. And by which dimension? If it's political, religion, social, and who's the target? Because we need to know the target if we want to reconcile after that. So we can say, when we publish our reconciliation process, or when we start our reconciliation process in social media, we can say that, okay, the majority in Saudi Arabia was arguing about the government, and if the argument was supporting reconciliation or not. And let me give you an example for that. Let's say in a hashtag that have a religious dimension, and the religious dimension was aiming for government to reconcile between between the Gulf cooperation. And if this dialogue was positive and was supporting the reconciliation in a way or another, we can say that yes, we have a clear evidence over here that in the Gulf region, we have people in mid of conflict who already want to reconciliation. And a matter of fact, we can say that yes, those group we can start, and that's why we can start with. That's why I choose which countries that I want to the codes, how I will classify them. And all those 6 stages will cover the. Just a second, I have sorry if I didn't prepare that, because I was a little bit sick and I try my best to. And as I said here, those are all the hashtags that I cover already and collected from net. And those separated from 2 periods, before the Al-Ula agreement and after Al-Ula agreement. And what I'm chasing here is a pattern. It's a fluctuated pattern from 2017 to 2022. And in general, after I clear analysis all those hashtags, I will get something like that. This pattern will say, yes, the first hashtag that published in 2017 had a positive dialogue more than negative dialogue. And after that, in like 6 months, let's say, the second hashtag when it appeared, yeah, the negative dialogue had decreased. And why it decreased? Because it's related to an event that happened in reality. And what that happened, what that event was, it can help us to decrease it again in the third hashtag. We can know the behavior of the social, we can know the social behavior if we stick to this analysis. So let's say if some event or some hashtags that increase or trended in a specific time had increased the negative dialogue, that then we may decide that, okay, those topics we need to try to not to involve in it, but we can involve in another topics that decrease the social rift. Let's say like football. If the football between like Qatar and Oman, let's say Qatar and the United Arab Emirates had decreased, so we can decrease this negative dialogue, then we can say that the negative dialogue or the sport are more likely in the in Gulf region to rebuild the social behavior. And let's say if there are a political event or like a trend for a news program, like what happened in Al Jazeera here when we published the ما خفي أعظم. This is in the name of the program, the broadcast of Al Jazeera, and they produce a negative negative dialogue or negative picture of the government and the society in the Gulf region, the government who blockade Qatar, and directly we see increasing in the negative dialogue, and I think from this perspective we can know where we begin. We will already know where we are going, and if this are good for us, and if it's not, how we can change it, because we will have a clear vision. What is negative, what is positive, what we can do, and who the people who already want to reconcile. And I'm saying that social reconcile, because I believe that we're still in the same in the middle of conflict. Before a few days, I was in a class, an English class, and my colleague over there was from Saudi Arabia. He didn't speak for me because my nationality, because I'm from Qatar, and I respected that. Me and him was a victim of a news warfare, let's say, a media warfare, and I wish that I cover all the detail, and excuse me if I didn't, because a little bit Corona has afflicted me very well, you know. Thanks for this. I can speak for you now. And thank you, Dr. Riyad. Thank you, Professor Martin.
Thank you very much, Waria. We're sorry for you having Corona. You know, this computer, yeah. So, Professor, you would like to start questions for Professor Laila, if you have any comment or feedback?
Yeah, thank you so much for presenting instead of Corona. And I think it's wonderful how your work evolved. It's now very innovative and a very good way to research conflict with a hashtag. So it's something new in reconciliation studies, and looking forward for developing it further, and see the excellent proposal, which is improving very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Thank you, Professor Martin, and it's because your perspective and Dr. Iyad's book that helped me a lot, and also Professor Frigment, yeah, who have the social change, the social science matter. All those books that helped me to develop this. And thank you for your patience, actually. you was patient with me. If you didn't, I didn't reach this level. And I believe that we have still more.
Yeah, Professor Schmidt would like to. So it's not on comparative religion, and Professor Schmidt does not want to speak. But I have also a comment, actually, which is for future perspective feedback. I think what you did is an excellent idea how hashtag can transform. If you see in your picture, if you go back, you have 50% where the negative and positive appear in the cross. In this cross, the cross section together, where you have negative. And this point, we call this the point of transformation, that in applied phronesis is the ultradynamic power. So here, the ultradynamic power changes. So in your research, you can understand what is the ultradynamic power and how to transfer the ultradynamic power into the reconciliation process. As I see, it became more hatred, and it went more 70% hatred and 30% at the end, not hatred. So in your research, you have to understand which hashtag is the ultradynamic power that transforms. At that hashtag, you can use other hashtag for reconciliation process. And the idea is to develop transformation, conflict transformation. So if you can understand where happens the transformation, it's before the transformation happens, there's like a dot. And I see it in your research where the 50%, you said 50%, 50%. At this stage, you need to check who are the hashtags there and how those hashtags can implement reconciliation process, because I see that they did for 30% only. So what happened that they only implemented 30% and the others, the hatred made more 70%. So if you can get into your research, how those hashtags in this point, what happened and how ultradynamic can develop a reconciliation process into that direction, then I think this would be like a good research. So this is what I see that you have to add into your research. This is like a lot of work in the future, but I think this is very important because the ultradynamic power is you have to the thing that does the drilling, the switching, the transform. So before you do transform, you have to have a mechanism for transformation. And at your research it's where 50%, 50%, where hatred and not hatred collide with each other. And then what this hatred, how can I don't want to move more to hatred, I want to move more to reconciliation process. So this, if you can get this, what is happening there, then you can maybe implement it, empower it. So you empower the ultradynamic powers towards the reconciliation process.
What do you think? You got it.
Yeah?
I think you
got
Yes,
it?
yes, actually, yes.
together how to do it.
Yeah.
Inshallah.
Okay, thank you very much. And
Thank you very much. I think we are on the end of our time.
it's nearly exactly our time.
Somebody else want to comment? Laura, maybe, or something?
Laura,
To
maybe.
say you would like to share? With
It's very, very interesting work. And what I would really like to see in the future, just as I was speaking about that point. So I did a study, and this is many years ago, and I didn't use NBIBO, unfortunately, or any other technology. It was all by hand. And but I'm so happy to hear that now everybody's using, all the technology, all the software, and all the what we have at our disposal. But what was very interesting at the time was that you were able to do the network analysis, hashtags, so that's been done several times. But the very interesting thing is what was happening on the ground with the people. And if you're able to get a case that we're able to see that connection, that's going to make a big difference. Because what was happening online and what we were able to map, of course, manually, etc., what we were able to map, there was a gap between what was happening on the ground. And that was very interesting. And I think that's what also Iyad was speaking about, that point. And I think the next step for you is going to be also beyond the research, then to be able to, when Iyad speaks about, okay, well, then the reconciliation process and then the transformation, but what does that mean? So for the study I did, it was in Mexico. And what we were able to map online then, what was happening with the actual women and the groups and the reconciliation processes there was a gap. So it's interesting, but it's really exciting. And I'm very much looking forward to reading what you're going to be. I'm sure this is one of the first drafts, and you're going to be, there's going to be an evolution of your work and even your thought processes. I can tell from my understanding, you've come a long way. And that's a wonderful thing to hear. It's very joyful for me to be able to hear that students are aware of that growth. It's not always the case that you're aware about the growth. So it's really great to hear, and I'm looking forward to reading more about your work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Laura, for the interesting comment.
I wanted to say, for me, it would be possible. I saw there is a possibility to have next Friday, next meeting is presentations to our normal time from 2 to 5.
Yeah.
This is German time.
Okay, it's German time.
So that's something you would like to have for the others who did not present today.
Yeah, we have.
could arrange a second meeting.
Okay.
I think this would be a good.
Okay. Okay. So yeah. So Professor Leiner is having time for next Friday. For I think Abdelrazak, he wants to present, but Abdelrazak, you should send us your proposal. Abdelrazak is from Qatar as well, and he's a Moroccan origin but lives in Qatar. And you have to send us a proposal this couple of days so we can read it, and then we can have more knowledge because you still not send the first draft. Zinat wants also to present, and there's also Bashar Ramahi wants also to present, and he sent us his paper on the email. And we have also Shahira. I don't know if Shahira is ready to present, but even if you don't present this semester, you will everyone will present every semester. And the idea of the presentation of the PhD students is develop give them feedback how to develop, and become a better. And this is the idea. Maybe Abdelrazak wants to speak. I can give you a floor. Abdelrazak, you can speak. If you have any comment you want to share.
Yes, Dr. Riyad, how are you?
I'm fine, I'm fine.
I'm so sorry. I was supposed to present today, but because of some conditions that prevented me from presenting. But next week I'm going to present my topic, which is related to the idea or the philosophy of civic engagement and reconciliation. That's my topic of next week, and then thank you so much.
But send us the proposal so we can read it.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So
Thank you so much.
so thank you, everyone. You have anything, Professor?
Only good wishes and good wishes, and see you next week.
Have a good Faghan and ciao. Thank you for being. Bye bye. Ciao ciao.
Thank you.
Okay.
Leave.